Okay.
So here we are. It's Facebook Leanne Morgan event. Come on, get with it. Oh my goodness. Oh, did you see everybody's dancing with us too, Leanne?
Oh, fun, y'all.
Oh my goodness.
I can bust a move. I want to scare these young girls though, and for them to see me in yoga pants and worry about their future.
Leanne,
So it's good to dance from the chest up.
I
What, my darling?
I don't have to introduce you. I mean, everybody kind of knows who you are at this point. I mean, but I will.
You think they do?
Oh my gosh.
They probably don't.
Oh my goodness. I just remember us hanging out in Tennessee, well, you know, all those years ago, doing our comedy thing. And I was just like, you're going to be a big star. And I knew it. And I knew it from the first time I saw you on stage. I was just like, oh my goodness. And you knew it too.
In San Antonio, you thought that?
Yeah, from San Antonio to, I remember also when we hung out at the comedy club in, is it in
Chattanooga?
Chattanooga. Yeah, and we had a gig
there.
Well,
honey, together. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me so that I wouldn't have been for 20 years thinking, what am I doing? Am I like these kids on American Idol that think they can sing? Okay, well, I'm glad you thought it, you angel. I'm glad I stuck it out.
Well, let me also share, just for folks who have been living under a rock. If you don't know, Leanne, she just came out with a new Netflix special. She's got a movie coming out with, who's in it? Will Ferrell, Reese Witherspoon. My goodness. Oh, yep. So famous. But let's just do a little clip real quick so that we can introduce folks to you and your comedy.
Okay.
Oh, let me make sure my sound is being shared. Oh, it is.
If I had to get out here and get a man at 57, after I've eaten all this Jell-O, it would take $1,000 just to groom what all I've got going on. My husband and I met, and I was so cute, and I was little. I had on little breeches, and my thyroid was functioning. He was so enthralled with me and so in love with me and pursued me and bought me presents, and now I truly believe he would not pull me out of a burning vehicle. And the first thing I thought was, I'm in an Uber with a man who would cover up a murder. Second thing I thought was, I'd help my baby cover up a murder. We were at McDonald's, and my other two were playing in the balls in the tube. Mine loved the balls. Mine would be playing in the balls, having a big time, and then a dirty diaper go floating across. They'd find a chicken nugget that wasn't theirs and go, where do people go on dates in their 50s and 60s? Lord, I had not dated since the 80s.
Leanne Morgan, everybody. Oh my goodness. I just cannot get enough of it. I've watched your show like 4 times already. It's so good.
Oh, you have?
I have. Right here in the comfort of my own home. Thank you,
my darling. Thank you. I've watched it one time because I can't watch myself. It makes me feel like I'm going to throw up. But thank you. I'm very tickled for that. I never thought they would have a Tennessee grandmama, 50 at the time, 57 years old, on Netflix. I really didn't, Cesar. I thought they're not gonna, and I think that's why they put me on, because they didn't have anybody like me. But I gotta tell you, it's been wonderful, and they've been good to me, and it's held in the top 6 specials of 2023 under Chris Rock, Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, and John Mulaney. Thank you.
It's amazing. I mean, and you're all over the place. What have you been on? The View? You've been on like Good Morning America? I don't know, all the things, right?
Today Show. I finally got to be on I love the Today Show. I got to be on with them, and I've been in People Magazine and Wall Street Journal and the Forbes. I got Forbes 50, over 50 women. And I just went to that luncheon last week, and let me tell you that it was like scientists and women that are running hedge funds in Sweden, and then me. And I was like, what am I doing here? But anyway, I had a ball. I just kept my mouth shut. But yeah, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. I would have never thought, I kept thinking that I would, you've known me for years, that I'd have sitcom deals and stuff. And I thought, oh, this is going to happen way before when I'm younger and my thyroid's working. And then here it happens at 58 years old.
Yeah.
And my grandmama of 2. But
well, it's amazing because I think that, it happens when it should happen, I suppose. But also, folks think things happen overnight, and what's an overnight success is like 15, 20 years, right, in the business. And so, but I just, you're so polished and sharp. I remember, back when we were doing stand-up, and I was just so excited to see the Netflix special, and you were on it, Leanne. You were at the top of your game. And so I just want to say, just again, so proud of you. So proud.
Thank you, my darling. Thank you. Thank you, you angel. That means a lot to me.
Well, the other thing I want to touch on, because our audience is really about being able to speak publicly and to deliver something with brevity and power. And even though you are more of a long form comedian, you know what it is to sort of put something into a joke structure and to hit a punchline and to go out there and make it fun for folks and to entertain. And one of the reasons for your incredible success is that you're so authentic and you're so yourself. And that's, at least from my perspective, when, we were coming up, I just knew, like, oh, this is the real deal. This is the genuine article. And so for you, I'm curious, did it always make sense to you to just talk about your life and the things that were real to you?
Yes, it did. But when you met me, I was about 38 with 3 little children that were probably around 3, 5, and 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I had started comedy in Tennessee, but then really got started when I moved to San Antonio and had a club. Had the River Center. You remember the River Center? It was in the mall.
Oh, yeah.
And I lowered, and then I would drive back and forth to Austin at Cap City Comedy Club. And at the River Center, they would put me up at midnight. And remember, everybody would be high on marijuana. And
I remember that show, yeah.
Oh, and I would be in a kitten heel with a capri with birds on it and a very unfortunate bob, I want you girls to know. And I would be up there talking about how somebody did it on a T-ball field. And it was all young people, like 21, high on marijuana and drunk, wanting to hear about nasty stuff. But yeah, I just, I was a mama, and I was a full-time mama, and their daddy was traveling. And when I started doing comedy, but my baby child was 18 months old. And so it was just always, I just talked about what I knew. I was never political or, Lord, I can't keep up with all that mess. I would talk about what it was like to birth and breastfeed and hemorrhoids when you're breastfeeding and birthing. And then, you can go through my whole career, and it's what I was going through at the time. So when you knew me back in Texas, I was a young mom with little children, taking people to soccer and doing all that. So I talked about that. And then as I've gotten old now, I'm in menopause, I'll talk about that, being a grandmama and, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm a storyteller. I like detail. I think it's important to put in good details. I think that snags people.
Yeah.
And grabs people. And yeah, I always wanted to be like Jerry Seinfeld and talk about a cotton ball, but it just was never that way. It was always what was going on with me and my husband and my Weight Watchers, failing at Weight Watchers.
Yeah, we really feel like we're with you and sort of like in your home almost, just kind of, spilling the tea as it were, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but it was, a lot of people have said to me over the years, you need to change your accent's too thick. And I speak sometimes at the University of Tennessee to students getting out, about to do their internships and then graduating, and they tell me, they go, Leanne, just go in there and be funny and and make these children feel better because they're scared to death. They think their first job is going to be their only job ever. And they, everybody's freaked out. And so I would go in and tell them that I think it's important to just be yourself. I think people, especially today after COVID and the world seems like it's falling apart, I feel like people want connection and they want the real deal and they can see through it. If you're not being who you say you are, they can see through it. People are smart and they want to feel a connection and want to feel like they can trust you and believe you, I think.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think especially this is a good translation into like how, how we interact also with the digital world. Like there's so much out there and it's so busy and noisy and everybody's trying to do the thing that works, and I just think what we're attracted to now is what we know is real, and there's no substitution for that, and you bring that in spades, and so I love it and it resonates with people. I have to ask the question, like, so we got to start at the beginning, like when, like, for you, joke telling or being funny, that was always something that came natural to you, or did you develop it? Tell us about that.
I think it was natural. I think my mom's very funny. My dad is a wonderful storyteller. I was raised in the country in a farming community of 500 people, and I was raised around all my cousins and my aunts and uncles and grandparents, and they were funny. And they would sit around and talk. Back then we had TV. I act like I'm come from the 1800s, but we talked and laughed and had a good time, played cards, that kind of stuff. And I feel like from the time I was little, I talked too much in school. I would get in trouble and have to go stand in the hallway. But I could make my teachers laugh. I could make other people laugh, and I knew that. And I always dreamed of going to Hollywood and being in show business, but I didn't know how. But I want everybody to know, I think that I sharpened all this before I ever met you and got over in a real comedy club. I sold jewelry like women sell Tupperware and Mary Kay. I met Chuck Morgan at the University of Tennessee. We got married. He moved me to Bean Station, Tennessee, which is in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. He bought a used mobile home business. And I got pregnant with Charlie, and my first, who's 30, and I wanted to stay home and nurse and to be a stay-at-home mom, but I needed a side hustle. I've always wanted to get my hair highlighted. So tight. So my good friends in Nashville said, Leanne, I'm selling this jewelry, and I don't even care about jewelry. But she said, you can meet people, because I felt very isolated up there. She said, you can meet people, you can, you schlep this jewelry around, you set it out on somebody's kitchen table, somebody makes a dip, a good artichoke dip, pan of brownies, you laugh, you have a good time. She goes, I think you'd be wonderful at it.
Yeah, you can do that.
And she was right. So I was killing every night in somebody's living room, and I look back on it, and I just think that was a God thing. Like I was in the Appalachian Mountains. I didn't have access to a comedy club or anything like that. And what I do, I'm in women's living rooms that are my demographic. Think about it. It could not have been any more perfect. And I would schlep this jewelry around. Anybody can buy a $20 pair of earrings, And I was supposed to be talking about jewelry, and I didn't. I talked about, birthing and pregnancy and all that, which is a common thing women like to talk about. And I started booking a year in advance, and the company noticed and asked me to start speaking at their big regional and national things. Now, I was not a good speaker. I would nurse, by then I'd had Maggie, I would nurse her on a toilet at the Aubreyland Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee, and then hand her to my mama, Lucille. And then I was supposed to go up and have a speech and teach these people how to get bookings and how to book like I was booking. And I didn't. I didn't have anything prepared. And I just, pulled it out of my butt. And I just made jokes. That's all I knew to do. And And the company noticed, I mean, women were there in the audience, and they were like, you need to be a stand-up. You need to be a stand-up. And it gave me the courage to really, because that's really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I remember how arrogant. I remember saying to a group of women that I go, y'all can book a party with me now, or you can see me in Las Vegas later. It's up to y'all. But in my heart, I knew that I was going to be in show business. But it was just, it just took me a long time. I had to get a different path than most people because I was a mama.
Right.
And living in a rural area. But anyway, then got to Texas, and I was telling you before we started, there's been many a time where, I'll get honored somewhere and they'll go, we want you to say a speech. And my husband will go, who's very academic and anal retentive and works so hard and very detail oriented. And I'll get up and say a speech and it'll be stupid. And he'll go, well, he'll go, you did not prepare. And I went, no, I thought I could wing it.
So lesson number 1, don't wing your speech. Okay, y'all?
Don't wing your speech.
Prep it. Even Leanne Morgan has to do prep work when it comes to public speaking. Am I right?
And I told you that I took a public speaking at the University of Tennessee, and I loved it. And we had the best speech teacher, professor, and he was darling. And when I think about one of the speeches, I got to tell y'all, one of the speeches I did, I was hooked on cigarettes. Okay, I'll just tell y'all, it was the 80s. Everybody smoked. Not everybody, but a majority. I'm ashamed for y'all's forgiveness now. But my people grew it. My people were farming people. They grew dark fire tobacco. I have dipped skull. My high school boyfriend was the skull representative for the University of Tennessee. So when I tell y'all I was hooked down in tobacco, I was. So my speech was how to get off of cigarettes. I had a Nicorette patch on. Actually, I'm having a hot flash. I'm going to take this off. I speech at the University of Tennessee about how to get off cigarettes.
And
that's how
what
y'all
were your
don't
tips?
need to listen to me. Well, I said you got to get on a Nicorette patch. You're going to have night terrors and but it is no walk in the park. But I can't remember. Lord, I'm 58 years old. How old was I? But I remember like the things that trigger you. Like I'd get up in the morning, drink a cup of coffee, smoke a cigarette. I was like, I had to give up coffee, like instead go on a walk. I mean, I don't know what I said, but I remember making an A in speech because I did do what he said. Thank you. I did do. And I remember there was another girl in there, and she was, her speech was how to make a dump cake. And she brought it in, and it was a can of pineapple and a thing of cake mix and all that. She mixed it, and that was fascinating. And I talked about how to get off of cigarettes. Oh,
I think it's much more valuable than the dump cake. I mean, this is you're saving lives, Leanne, with your speeches.
True, but everybody needs a good cake recipe, and you're in a pinch. No.
It's true. It's true.
You just dump it, and then you don't even mix it. It came out fabulous.
All right. So folks, I want you to get your questions ready for Leanne. If you've got them, get them ready. I'm going to go through a few more questions for Leanne on my end, but I just want you to know that she'd love to hear from you all as well. And yeah, we're excited about that part of it coming up too. So Leanne, let's move to kind of the piece where we give folks some tools. What I hear often as folks are preparing for their talks, their speeches, it could be a TEDx talk or a keynote speech, or just something that's super important where they got to get up in front of people, okay? And they say, look, I know my speech would be better if I could use some humor, and but I'm not funny, like this is one of the most common things that I hear. I'm wondering just kind of on what would you say? What would you say? What would your advice be to those folks that bring that to you?
To me, because I'm a detail storyteller, I think funny details, little funny, describing somebody's shoe or describing, their look on their face or how they felt, or I think those things are funny. To me, they're funny. So, for instance, my middle child my nephew got married and I didn't get to go. I was on the road, and she said, she's a detailed person too about storytelling, and she goes, Nana was sitting there with a earring on. Nana is my mother-in-law who's 84, and she said, do I look like a lady of the night with these hoop earrings on? And Maggie said, no, you do not, Nana. And then we've got a little great nephew in the military who likes to use the F word, and he said the F word in front of Nana. And Maggie said to me, he said the F word in front of my Nana, and she had on a white sandal. And I just thought that was so funny. It wasn't so much about him saying the F word. It was that Nana sat there and had to hear the F word wearing a white sandal. You know how little old women wear a white sandal. So to me, it's a long way. And y'all are so smart. I can tell y'all are. Y'all are probably like, what in the world? But I think a funny detail of something adds a punch to me. Something that somebody's not expecting. For that to be, it's something simple, but they're not expecting it. That gets a laugh to me.
Yeah, and you use that tool all the time, and that's it. You're right. It's really like what you do is you create a visual for folks, and we can connect the dots without you having to tell us what the surprise is, right? It's sort of like, now I can picture it, but then the fact that that's the important part of it is the surprise as well, where it's like, oh wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, you're a great storyteller. I think that's good feedback for folks, especially if you're kind of green to joke writing or humor in general. Storytelling that is humorous is a good way to go. One of the things that can go wrong there, Leanne, is that it could be like a longer story, and maybe the payoff isn't worth all that length of story. So how have you in your career learned to kind of like trim down and get to the thing a little quicker, or to make sure those laughs are coming throughout the story?
It's a long process. I'm on a 100-city tour. Big Panty tour was 100 cities before I did that Netflix special. And I was doing some of that material before COVID hit. And then COVID hit, and then I couldn't work. And then I had to go back and try to remember what in the world I was saying. Now I'm on a second 100-city tour called the Just Getting Started tour. But you have to work. And the best way to do it is stand up in front of people and do it.
Right.
But here's an example. One of the bits that has gone more viral than anything I've ever done, and I think it changed my career, was me talking about taking my husband to go see Def Leppard and Journey, and how everybody looked sick and bloated, and everybody had plantar fasciitis. Okay, so me going to that concert, instead of watching really Journey and Def Leppard, I watched people around me. And I found, what I thought was funny. And in that bit, I look back at that bit, and there's just one laugh right after another, because I went through and described little man from Def Leppard has got tiny legs. I've never seen legs as tiny on a man in my life. He props the little foot up, it just barely goes. He had hair down to here. Then you could see through it. I think it's his thyroid. Then he had a little bump in his stomach. Hernia. I've had a hernia. I knew exactly what it was. All the young guy from Journey is darling, yummy, younger than everybody, tight in his little pants, muscled up, cute. Kelly has not done dope and slept with nasty women and all the things that the old boys in Journey have. And everybody in Journey looks sick. So I just went through and told these details. And I'm telling y'all, that changed my career. I couldn't get arrested. Nobody cared. I've been doing this for 20 years. I mean, I'd had a career, but it was not going that great. But something about that event, one, people could relate to it. That's another thing. If people can relate to it, we all have the same experiences, and people want to say, "Oh, I see that in her. That's how I feel about my first child," or whatever. People
Mhm.
feel a connection. But people go to concerts. I think that resonated with people because people go to concerts as we age. You're looking at your journey, and they
Yeah.
all look 100, and nobody can stand for a long time at the concert. Everybody's got plantar fasciitis. Everybody's worried about the snack bar. But all that, it resonated with people, and then there was just details. I look back on it, and I think, I'll do a Snoop Dogg and pat myself on the back for that. I feel like I really added good details that kept people engaged.
Yep. Well, I think so. A few things have emerged, right? Like the surprise is in sharing the details, your observations, but also, you're speaking to a very specific audience, right? And
Yes.
there's these two kind of schools of thought. Like you either cater to your audience, or you basically do you, and then your audience finds you, right?
Yes.
And I think when we're speaking, sometimes we don't always get to pick our audience. So we have to kind of tailor what we're saying to them. We got to know, hey, how old are they? Are they, what is the demographics? Like, what's going to go over well, what's not? But also, if you have a shot at just talking about what you know intimately, I think that's really where things can go extremely well, is like when you just say, okay, here's who I am, here's what I'm experiencing, and know that others will be experiencing it as well. Does that sound right?
Yes. And let me tell you, there have been many a times when I did, and I know you did these gigs too early on. I did men that make carpet fiber. Let me tell you, men that make carpet fiber don't relate to me back then. I mean, they should not have hired me. They should have hired, half of them were Japanese, by the way, that couldn't speak English. And then the other half were, men in Dalton, Georgia that make carpet fiber. God love them. Glad we've got carpet. They're not fun. But there's something about, I mean, I could have, I should have had other people's material and talked about sports or something. I mean, it was a nightmare. But as I've gotten to be older and wiser, I think I share my experience, what's going on with me, and people, relate to it, or even if they don't relate to it, they find it funny. So I think, like, all these darling people have got no telling what y'all are talking about. What are y'all talking about? Science, or what are y'all? It's no telling. But there's always little bitty, drops of things that people can relate to, whatever y'all are bringing to the table.
A lot of folks
Yeah.
here are, talking about personal growth. There's a lot of folks in the healthcare field. And yeah, I think one of the other takeaways that I think is really nice is just, you got to do it. You got to get up there and you got to do it. And there's no substitution for that, because when you're doing it, you will force yourself to find a way to be successful. And a lot of material comes from working something, not even knowing where you're going with something, and having to come up with something on the spot, because if you don't, there's going to be crickets. And so you're forced to kind of figure it out. And I think, even if it's not humor, if it's public speaking, you just got to do as much of it as you can. The other thing I'll say, Leanne, that you do incredibly well is, Steve Martin used to call this thing, I guess, absence, or like punchline by absence, which is to say, like, just allow people a moment to sit with what you just said, and let them connect the dots, and you'll have a facial expression or a thing where you just kind of wait. And a lot of times we'll think that we need to fill all the space, and actually the space is what can bring people to feel something, to laugh, to react. Would you agree?
I agree with that, but I also think that takes a long time to have that confidence to feel good about that silence.
Mm-hmm.
I think it took me 10 years in. I don't want to scare y'all to death but y'all are so smart. But it took me a while to be comfortable with that silence and take a beat. And that, to me, that's comedy timing, but to feel comfortable that I don't have to feel and boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And I don't think y'all are expected to go boom, 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 boom. You
No.
can take a pause, smile, let people feel it with you. Yes. I didn't know that Steve Martin called it that. Look at you.
Yeah, he's got this book, Born Standing Up, and he talks about comedy by absence, I think is the term that he uses. But okay, Leanne, I'm so excited. I want to read a couple of comments that are in here. Nita Jane says, love this so much. So inspiring to get overnight success at the age of 50. What 50?
58.
Lisa is also so excited that you're here. She wants to know if you've written a book. Have you written a book? It's
I'm
coming
writing
out.
one right now.
What's it called?
I have a ghostwriter. I want y'all to know I have a ghostwriter. There's no way that I could have organized. I tried to do it years ago because I always thought I had one in me. And I wrote a chapter, and my husband corrected it and put red around it and said, how did you graduate in college? But he was right. I mean, I no grammar, but I have a ghostwriter, and it's called What in the World, and it's funny essays to intro me to the world. And I want y'all to know, though, that I was wanting to tell every horrible, sinful thing I ever did. And my literary agent, who is so fun and cute, Albert, he goes, honey, you're no Joan Crawford yet. He goes, we don't need to tell all this. Maybe your third book. Let's do it, this one, and then a cookbook, and then you can tell all of your sin in the 80s. And I said, okay. So this one, What in the World, it will be out. And I say what in the world because every day I go, what in the world? Because so many wonderful blessings have come to me, and I just still cannot even get over it. I cannot get over it. It's bigger and better and sweeter than anything I ever dreamed of. And I tell you why. Because it's precious people. I have hit a niche. I'm in a lane by myself. There's another thing that's
this is true.
There is no one else speaking to my demographic. Hollywood ignores us. Middle-aged women, people feel like after 40 you just have to go off into the desert, and you don't. And I think it is a wonderful time right now for women my age, because you've got people like in Hollywood, you got people like Gwyneth Paltrow, Reese Witherspoon, all these people that are doing unbelievable things. And then in the world, in business, in medical field, women are, anybody gets wiser, you get better at your job. You just get into who you are. You're comfortable with who you are in your 40s and up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've hit this niche with these women that have felt ignored, and they are so grateful to have somebody that speaks about something they care about. And they bring me gifts, and they send my grandbaby stuff, and my mama's been sick, had a stroke a few years ago. They send her things. I mean, it's because women are loving and want to do for other people. So I just happened to hit the jackpot with this wonderful demographic group that happens to be loving and sweet and nurturing and wants to see me do well. And they want to see me win. And we were talking about it the other day, and I thought this was funny. Somebody said, it's like one of us got out. They're cheering me on. It's like somebody got out, and we're like, But
well,
but
Leanne, you're receiving what you've put out into the world for so many years, and you've just, that is who you are. You're a caring, lovely human people just, you warm people's hearts every time they're around you, and so that makes others want to put that back out there. And so You're amazing. Kara and Rashmi say that they're totally fangirling right now, just so you know.
Oh, no.
And there's some questions. So actually we can kind of jump in if you're good with that, Leanne.
I'm good with that. Really ask real quick, how
Sure.
old were you when we met? I was a grown woman with a bunch of little children, and I think I tried to mother you. Did I get on your nerves? Because I think I tried to mother you, didn't
No,
I? And you went to church with me one Sunday. We went to
I'm sure we
Max
did.
Lucado's church. Yeah.
Yes. Well,
But how old were you?
in San Antonio, let's see. I'm 42 now, and it's weird because I went to college in San Antonio. I did my undergrad there, and that's when I started doing comedy. I was like 18, 19, and right away things started happening, and I got to go on a military tour, and it was kind of like this, interesting thing that I didn't expect, but I always knew that I wanted to be on stage as well and delivering. And so I think we met when I had left and then moved back later. So I was probably
Yes,
in
I think
my,
you had been.
yeah,
You were
mid
auditioning for
to,
movies and stuff.
that's right. So like mid to late 20s, right? Like that's about probably, I don't know. How many years ago did you live there? That's a better way to figure it out.
I was there in 2004,
Okay.
2002, 2003.
Yep.
And
Yep.
y'all should have seen, I mean, in metabolism, cute in his pants, striking on stage, beautiful big head of hair that was curly. Look at his teeth. And everybody was this. I mean, I hate to say this, but a lot of those boys were the same, and everybody was doing the same, but he was different.
Well, thank you,
You were
Leah.
different.
Well, we have similar hearts. Like we're on stage and we want to give something, and I think that's still true for us and what we're doing. Well, okay, I'm gonna jump to Gisella's got her hand up patiently, and so would love to bring her on to ask a question. Gisela, come on off mute.
Hey, Leanne. Hey, Caesar.
Hey, my darling.
Coming live from Mexico. See the palm
Oh, how wonderful.
Anyway, I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing your humor today. I don't know about everyone else, but I needed to hear that today. And it's just great to be able to laugh, when times are so tough in life right now, hard times. So I have a question. So I'm Gigi and I'm 61. So.
Oh, my darling.
Yes.
Gigi.
Yes, I'm a real Gigi. I am a former stressed out perfectionist and single mom of 3 too. So I've hit rock bottom and almost died because of it. But so also the mother of a heart survivor. So I speak about matters of the heart. So I guess my question is, as a menopausal grandma, what I call myself too, I'm in the same lane probably as you. How do I share this important message of healing hearts with other women? My intention is also to edutain them, but also want to have fun, because one thing they've described me as a fun person. When I do speeches, I've been doing it for 30, my son's 31. 32. I've been doing this for 32 years. And that fear creeps in. I've got to do TED Talk and Caesar, I know I owe you a call. We gotta, today's the day. How do you get started and go past that fear? And I've been doing it for a long time, but a serious matter about the heart, about saving lives. It really is about saving lives, been saving lives and touching hearts and for a long time to women's groups. But I really want to do it full time and make this my life's calling. It has been.
And so what are you, because you're so articulate, and if they think you're fun, honey, what else do you need? What are you worried about? What's scaring you? Getting on stage at that moment, or
I think at this age, memory loss, menopausal memory loss. Doing a TED Talk, I'm like, okay, I'll break it down 5, 5, and 5. Maybe I can learn it that way. But that's my biggest fear. But yeah, I know I think it's a responsibility for me to share this message, because I've done it for a long time. It's just time to do it. Like you just said, Caesar, it's time for me. And so I've been
Mhm.
sharing this message for a long time, but how do I just get in there and just do and make it funny? I want to make fun. I want to have fun doing it with the
Well,
message.
well, let me tell you, Gisela, I'm not kidding. When I'm on stage in front of 2,500 people in a theater, and I'm coming to Sugarland to Houston, and Caesar is going to get to go to that show. That's 6,700 seats or something. It's one of my first arenas.
Oh my God.
I can, honest to goodness, forget what I'm saying, and I'll go, "What was I saying?" And I'm just honest about it. And people throw their purse in there, and women go, and they love it, and they don't care because it's honest, and nobody else can think of their name. And everybody is you're in brain fog because you're in menopause, and that's low estrogen, So I would just be honest. I mean, I know a TED Talk's got to be boom, 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 boom. But if you're just talking to, groups and you're in front of a big audience, honey, let your light shine and be honest and go, y'all, what in the world was I saying? If you're fun and you're true and that's who you really are and you mean it, they're going to be right there with you and they're going to go, I can't think of my name either. I'm telling you, people we all women got so much on them and are, trying to manage children and a household and pets and bills, and nobody can think of their name. That is something you got to let that go, honey. I know it's hard. Take a deep breath. I always breathe before I say a prayer before I go on stage. And I think this is it. This is who I am. Love it or leave it, honey. This is who I am. And people appreciate that.
Yeah, I
I'm
guess it
telling you,
gets
they
down
will
to
feel it.
you just share your story, know it because it is your story, and then bullet points at that point. just hit some 3 bullet points maybe. But I'm with you because we relate to you, and I think women relate to me because I'm as a former health. Well, I am a health coach, but I failed at Weight Watchers too, and I'm coaching people. It's like, what's wrong with me? I can't get rid of the extra, stuff there. But
The
it's
other
really
thing, Gigi, is to just, one of the things that I find is that folks can get stuck in the mode of like, okay, when do I start? Or how do I start? Or that kind of thing. And what you got to do is just start booking stuff. Like then it's happening, right? And then everything else like falls into motion. Because if you're in that space of like, should I make it real, and the rest will come fall into place.
Yes. And you got to start somewhere, and you got to just say, I mean, I don't know where y'all all are in your careers, but tell people I'll come and do this for free. Let me come to your group at whatever, and and the more you're on stage, and then they'll go, oh my gosh, we've got to get her. She was out of this world.
Right.
That's just, it happens that way in comedy. And I
Yeah.
bet it happens that way in, speaking and especially with what you've been through, with heart and your child surviving a heart condition. Is that what it is, Gisela?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, my darling.
Basically,
Honey, I could hook you up with people.
making the comparison of him flatlining to my life becoming a flatline life and how I survived that as a woman with the stress.
Darling, you're walking over money. You got to get out there and do it.
I can't do it for free anymore. I've been doing it for free for 30 years. I need to start making some money so I can,
Yeah.
I'll come see you in Houston.
There's probably agencies and people that can help with that, but I know that's a need, and I know that the people want that and would value that. I know they would, because it's what you're doing is similar to what I do, but you've got that purpose.
Yeah.
People need to hear that story. Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know about the bookings and all that, but you've got something wonderful that you can give and people want. You just got to make that connection. Who's going to book it and all that.
Well, thanks, Gigi. I want to make sure we get to the other questions, but so good to see you on the call again. Okay. Well, actually, this is a good lead into another question that's here in the chat, Leanne. I mean, 100 city tour. I mean, that's no joke, right? I mean, that's amazing, to just make that happen. But I think, one of the questions is like the organization that goes into all of that. Obviously, you have a team, but maybe you could speak to how folks can get started in one gig after the other, and how do you bring all of that kind of together for folks?
Well, it wasn't until I could sell tickets that I found my audience, that people then wanted to give me a 100-city tour. For 20 years, I took whatever I could get. I took, less money, and I would pay my travel out of it. And I just got on stage at any time I could. But let me tell y'all, when it changed, I had never invested in myself. I had these 3 little children, and their daddy's always been successful and had a big job and all that. But it was kind of like, if I made money, I bought haircuts, uniforms, all that, and which was stupid. I mean, I'm glad I was able to do it, but I should have been building a website. I should have invested in myself, and I don't know why. It was short-sighted, but I did. And then in 2018, when things were really not going well, and I knew I was going to have my first grandbaby, and I was doing the Chamber of Commerce luncheon for Dubuque, Iowa. Nothing wrong with Dubuque, Iowa people. They're darling. But I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in my 50s. I'm doing the Dubuque Chamber of Commerce luncheon. They're precious people. They didn't even hire me to do the nighttime thing. And I'm having to pay my travel, and I got to get, connect in 3 different places to get. I thought, I just cannot do this anymore. I've done this for years. I cannot. If this is what it's going to be, God, then I don't want to do it anymore. And then I've always admired Jim Gaffigan. I'm a huge fan of Jim Gaffigan. And then Nate Bargatze was blowing up at the time, who's a good friend of mine now. And I thought, I want to be in theaters like them. I want my comedy career to be like theirs. So I started watching, what are they doing?
Yeah.
So if y'all have got speakers that y'all admire, watch what they're doing. And I realized that they had social media people that were organizing everything. I was putting up pictures of beagles and had no idea what in the world I was doing. Well, now nobody reads the newspaper. Nobody watches local television. If you think about it, all that has changed. So I said to my manager at the time, God love him, but he did not have the bandwidth to do all this. And I said, I kept up with things, the pulse of what was going on, so much more than he did. And that's another thing. I always kept up with the pulse. What is going on? Who do I want to be like? Anyway, I said to him, I'm going to hire these social media. They've got social media people. Jim Gaffigan's got social media people. I'm getting social media people. He goes, you can't afford it. And he goes, you cannot do it. And I just ignored him. And I found these 2 young guys out of Plano, Texas. And that was a God thing. Out of the blue, I just found these young guys that got my voice and understood me. And it was like $2,200 a month. And I'm telling y'all, I'd never done anything like that before. I didn't have a website. I mean, I was pitiful. And I thought, I'm gonna give them 3 months. That's as much money as I've got. I'm gonna give them 3 months. If nothing happens, I'll just bow out of this thing and I'll go pop popcorn at the NASCAR track. I could work at Target. There's a million things I could do. I've always thought it'd be fun to watch people at a NASCAR track. Think about that, y'all. Let's let that sit in a minute. How fun would that be? Anyway, I hired these boys, and I remember my husband going, "Oh my gosh, you can't do," because that's a lot of money. And but darn, I think they put out that Def Leppard. It started my campaign, they called it, started October the 1st, 2019. I was moving my baby child she was going to go to school in New York, and we were trying to move her into her apartment. And they posted that Def Leppard video, and I saw it being shared thousands of times. And I mean, I didn't even have a professional. They had to make me a professional fan page and all that. I didn't have anything in place like I should have. They got me organized, got everything to look professional. It's all perception. They got everything to look right, and I had just been throwing crap up. They got everything to look the same and look professional, and people started coming after me. That video went viral. I started selling out all over the United States. people started looking at other things I had done. But these boys took clips, put them up so people could see what I did. They started looking for everything they could find on me. And clubs started calling all over the United States saying, who is Leanne Morgan? And we want to book her. These people are calling, ringing the phone all the time. And I'm telling y'all, 6 months before that, I had gone to several clubs in Florida, improvs, Orlando, West Palm Beach, all that could not sell tickets. They were like, she's sweet. She doesn't get drunk and fight in the parking lot, but we're not having her back. And I'm telling y'all, within 6 months, I was selling out all over the United States. And I tell you why. I found my audience. They found me.
Right.
You have to, if y'all want to speak at things, the Heart Association, you need to start connecting with people that do events about the heart and about and the way, and they need to find you and know that you're professional and you can do it. So you're going to have to invest some money into yourself. And you need somebody, if you need to hire, there's young people that can edit and do all that. You don't have to pay $2,200 a month, but find people that can help you get all that professionally looking professional, because that's what people want to hire. They want to know that there's people that are interested in what you're doing, and I'm telling you, it makes all the difference in the world. It's the new newspaper, the new television. And if you find, people that are into what you're talking about and need you, you can start marketing yourself. And it just made it changed my life. Yeah. I'm one of the top touring comedians in the world. And I could not get arrested. In 2018, to the beginning of 2019, nobody knew who I was. And I'd been doing it 20 years. So they got all of my social media to look the same. They put me on social media I didn't even know existed. I spent that money on myself. It was the best money I've ever spent. I've made that money back. I can't even tell you. Now I've got more people that work on that kind of stuff, but you have to market yourself. They're not going to find you out of the blue.
Yeah.
And social media is the new way. And TikToks, if somebody did TikToks where you talk about, heart health and what you went through, or just getting started in your career in your 50s or 60s, or little tags and hashtags, they know how to do all that kind of stuff that attracts people. I'm talking out of my head, but you know what I mean?
That's amazing, Leanne. I think that's exactly right. Like that, the tools that we have now to be able to find your audience, like you can really, if you know what you're doing, you can zero in on who's going to connect with you. And I don't want you to undersell yourself though, because you have to have the content that's going to be good for people to go like, oh my Lord, I have to share this. Everybody's got to know. Right. And so you had that. And they were able to then use it with all the tools and skills that they have, right? So it's twofold. It's like what kind of content do you already have that maybe you're not leveraging, or what kind of content that can you create that's going to speak to your audience, because Beagles wasn't doing it, right?
Right. Right. And they would put a graphic up. Like I have a bit about Tess, my baby, when she was a cheerleader, competition cheer all over the United States, and she had to wear a little whore outfit. And she competed against other little children with whore outfits on in the United States of America. And they did a graphic of something that grabbed people, or the one with old people at concerts, it was called Old People at Concerts. And people were like, I want to see that. What is that? And then clicked on it. But they were very innovative with graphics. It would be a bright color with, whore cheerleader or whatever it was. And people go, oh, or menopause or spray tan or swim dress from Land's End or whatever. And it would grab people. So, just selling, it could be something like, heart health or something to do with children, or, and whatever your talking points are. If somebody put that together with some content, or you talking into your iPhone during the COVID, all that shut down. And I thought, oh no, I'd been given a 100-city tour. And then they said, we got to move it. And I just started on my back porch talking to people, no makeup on, I looked like a pink jaybird. I was, everybody was freaked out. I didn't wear makeup. I was sitting back there and I'd talk about what I was cooking or what I was doing to help my mom and dad because my mom had a stroke and she's in a wheelchair. So, and she had to have pureed food. So I would talk about what I was going to cook for her. Well, then this community grew and grew, and people were like, make your mama this. Let me send you, here's this recipe. This is, oh my gosh, I love that. I love a good chicken casserole. I use cream of chicken soup and not cream of celery. And then my baby child is a professional makeup artist, and she'd put a concealer on me and make me look like a different person. Then this community grew, and people were like, "What is that concealer she used?" And Tess, what do you think I need? People our age and our time in life want to connect, and they want real. We've been talking about that. So Gisela, talk about that. You had a child that was ill, and I mean, how many people? I mean, there's a lot of people that have gone through that and want to connect with you. You starting this career in your 50s and 60s, people resonate with that. They're resonating that with me. But put that in graphics and in hashtags. Get somebody to help you. Invest in yourself and get that out there.
Thank you,
I'm
Leanne.
telling you.
Thank you, Leanne. So we have to wrap here. But of course, we want folks to connect with you. I can't wait to see you in just, what is it, 8 days? You're going to be here in Houston. I'm going to take my wife and my mother-in-law. And let me tell you, just quickly, I could not believe that my mother-in-law didn't think as much of me as she does now when she learned that Leanne Morgan and I were friends. This is what happened, just real quick. My wife went and bought her tickets, bought my mother-in-law tickets to go and see you, right? And then I said, well, you don't have to do that. I'll connect with Leanne and I'm sure it'll be fine and she'll give us the VIP treatment. And she was just like, Leanne Morgan? You know Leanne Morgan? And I'll tell you, like, she comes over to the house now, just bright-eyed, and I get hugs now, and my relationship is completely transformed thanks to you,
Oh,
Leanne.
honey, I know she worships you. You're blowing smoke up my butt. All right, girls, and I don't know who all's on here. It's 7. All right, where are y'all living? Does anybody need tickets anywhere? Because you tell Cesar, I'm LeanneMorgan.com. I'm going all over the United States. I've just added a bunch of dates next January through June. They're about to announce the ones next year, the end of the year. And I've got some left for this year. So if y'all are, I'm not going to be in Mexico, darn it.
We do have somebody that says they got some grandbabies in Houston, and so we'll connect on that. Patricia's in Spokane, Washington.
Honey, I go to Spokane all the time. I do that wonderful casino up in Spokane, and I'll be in Seattle, Washington,
Canada,
Portland, Oregon, all up in there. But anytime, y'all just tell him and he can get with me, and I'll be glad to get y'all comps. And then y'all, if it's not flu season, y'all can come in a meet and greet and eat chocolate.
If it's not flu
I would
season.
love to have y'all. If it's not the COVID, I gotta stay well so I can make money for all these grandkids. But honest to goodness, I'd love to have all of y'all listening. And honey, I feel like I need to make y'all a casserole because I don't have, truly, I don't have skills, like professional skills. I mean, I do think a fun detail is fun, like a grandmother's orthopedic sandal, white sandal. That's a good detail. But I don't know if I've helped any, but I've loved being with y'all. I wish we could all sit in the corner and laugh and have a big time, but I'll get to see y'all somewhere.
I love it, Leanne. Of course, you've been just a joy, a gem, incredibly helpful. I'm gonna bake you a casserole when you're here at from the local finest restaurant that is near Sugarland. You're gonna be in Sugarland, right?
I'll be in Sugarland for 2 big shows. I have one. Which one are you coming to? We know that for sure, right?
I think the Thursday show, isn't it? I think it's the Thursday one. You're doing
Okay.
Thursday and Friday,
All right.
right?
I'm doing Thursday, then I go to Fort Worth and do 3, and then they added another one for Sugarland because I sold out the first one. So it's bookend shows.
Amazing. All right, Leanne, I don't want to hold you up, but just thank you so much. It's such a joy to reconnect with you. Can't wait to see you when you're here in Houston. And we're just gonna do just another little bit of the outro music now. Everybody join me, shed some love on Leanne. Here we go. Woo! Come on, Rob. One of those. Oh yes. That moves from the 80s, Leanne. That one was for you.